And welcome to Mary Walter Radio, the live cast. How is everyone? Hope you had a great week. Happy Tuesday. Yeah, it's so funny. My week, once I get through Monday and Tuesday, because I have my TV hit on Monday, I got, Tuesday I had this, then the rest of the week just goes, it's so easy. So once I get past this, I'm like, but I am in for Wendy Bell on the Wendy Bell Radio Network. The rest of this week, I've been on all week. So you can catch me 9 a.m. to noon Eastern time. And Wendy Bell is on Rumble. Just look for Wendy Bell Radio. I think it's Wendy Bell Radio Network on Rumble. And you can watch and can leave comments just like we do here. It's kind of the same thing. It's just that hers is, she does it every single day, which, wow. I'd have to win the lottery to be able to do it every single day or hire somebody to work in my house. Anyway, so thank you to our new subscribers. I appreciate you. If you have not subscribed, please do so. Please give a thumbs up to the videos. If you have not done that, you can go back on on YouTube and Getter and just click on the live tabs. You can watch older podcasts, past podcasts. You can sort them by most popular and however you want to sort them. And then you can also get the audio on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Spreaker. A big shout out to Evie, who does all of our graphics for me and did the graphics for today's guest, who, by the way, is running late, but he promised he'd be here. And I told him we can reschedule, but he got mixed up with the time. But he said, nope, he's going to be here. So he will be coming up. But poor Evie, I don't know how he did it, but apparently broke 3 toes and messed up all his tendons in his leg and his foot. And he's a big mess. So speedy recovery. And to his son, Zach, who is our biggest fan. Hello, Zach. How are you? All right. And oh my gosh, we changed my name to Mary. Oh, see, we changed my name from the Queen to Mary Walter Radio because I'm using Skype for Wendy Bell's show. So I couldn't put the Queen up there. So sorry, Zach, we'll change it back after next week for the podcast. I'll change it back to the Queen. So there's that. I was really cold, so I had to put a sweatshirt on. This is where I used to work at this radio station, WCTC, 1450 AM in another life. And Steve Bannon was the basketball coach for Rutgers University. And we had this Monday night radio show with Steve, and it was the Bannon bunch. Anyway, so there's that. All right, let's see who's here, shall we? Let's see who's here. Hello. All right. Wow. Okay. Scott is here. First one in. Wild Bill, watching your back. Rebecca, Hermit, Gregory is here. Porchview is here. Hey, Porchview on Wendy Bell's show, it's not Porchview Farm, it's Porchview something. And I was wondering if that was you, because it's really hard to read the comments when you're doing, a 3-hour show because it goes by so fast. So it's super hard, but I did see Porchview something. And I was wondering if that was you. Hermit says, hi, everyone, and hello to Native Patriot. I follow Native Patriot, and all of you should check out his page. Absolutely. So I'll tell you about him in just a hot second. Suze says, everyone, BBS finishing dinner. Sal, watching your back. You need to get back on Kale and Company. I don't know. They haven't asked me to fill in. So what can I do? I can only go on if they ask me. So they haven't asked me in a while. And they had someone else, a very nice woman, fill in for a week, and they flew her up, and she was staying in a hotel in Philadelphia. Anna, I don't know. She was very nice and she was good. So, maybe they like to switch it up every now and then, and that's fine. It's their playground. Yitzhak is here. Star Driver's here. I didn't see you on Salcedo. It looked like a news conference took precedence. Yeah. So Monday, I got bumped because they had somebody else on, and so it was either me or Mike. So they took Mike because I was on Memorial Day, he wasn't, and then so they moved me to today, and then today I got bumped for Kerry Lake supposedly, but I don't know what happened. So ouch! Is there a case? Yitzhak is talking about Evie and his foot. Is there a case? I'll find out. Squeaky, yes, Ron. WCTC memories. Mary, the teacher's doing roll call. Mary's great on 1210. Not me, but I have been listening. Thank you so much. So let me tell you a little bit about our guest who we're waiting for. He's a huge account on X. You know him as Native Patriot. He is half American, half white, and but he's 100% American and half native, half white, 100% American. And I mean, the guy's got 24,000 followers, excuse me, over 202,000 followers. And I started following him a while back. And I got to meet him at CPAC. I shared the pictures with you. I got to meet him at CPAC. And so I put him on my list. Like I have a list of people that I want to get on the podcast. And so I try to do like a new person one week and then someone who's been on before the next week. And then I kind of rotate him through. And because you don't always want it to be the same people all the time, right? So I thought it would be fun to start having people on who have these great accounts that I enjoy, and I think a lot of people enjoy. If he's got 200,000 followers, I think a lot of people enjoy him. And just to find out who he is, the guy, I don't know if you've ever seen his videos, but he changes the big truck tires, the big tires on the trucks. This is what he does by hand. Like he changes these things and he makes it look so easy. But that's what he does for a living. But he has really mobilized social media in his favor. And if you've ever watched his if you've ever followed his account, and he's got some podcasts out there we're going to talk to him about, but I just really found it interesting. So, he's here. He is here.
Hi.
Maurice, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing quite well. How are you?
I'm doing great. You didn't have to rush. We could have rescheduled. I felt so badly.
No, I have no idea how I mixed it up in my head, but for some reason I was driving back home and I was like, I got plenty of time. And then I realized I was like, wait a minute. I'm almost an hour late, so but yeah, I really don't mind. I was really looking forward to this. It's nice to see you again.
Well, it's good to see you as well. Hold on. Oliver, stop it. Hey. My cat is scratching the wood, and I have an old house, and he's scratching the wood, and it's driving. I don't like that. Anyway, so it was good to finally meet you. So I was telling everyone, like, what I like to do is there are some accounts on X that I just find really interesting and that I really like, and then I thought would be fun to start getting those people on the podcast to find out who you are. How how you stumbled into this internet fame, because you also have the Patriots Prayer Network we're going to go into and your other podcasts. Plus, you have a very physical job. So how you have time for all of this and the energy, you're young, clearly, the energy for all of this is amazing to me. So tell everybody like who you are and what you do. I was telling them you change like these. I was watching you change the truck tires. Like it's like, holy crap, you do that by hand. That's
Yep.
so tell us a little bit about yourself first.
Well, my name's Maurice. I'm married to Lady Patriot. She also has an online account, and
Yep.
I started speaking out a couple of years ago because I wanted to inspire traditional values. When I look out into the world, I'm from a very small town in the foothills of Mount Rainier in Washington State, and I was raised by very, very, they had conservative values, but they were Democrat leaning, which is kind of odd. It's since changed, but my parents were responsible people, and when I got out into the workforce at 18, I started doing industrial tires. But I kind of realized that a lot of the adults around, they didn't really act like adults, right? There was a lot of drama. They would talk behind each other's backs. They would lie to your face, and I found that really kind of unnerving. And then in 2020, during the government lockdowns, I kind of looked around and I felt like there wasn't enough men going against what I thought were, unconstitutional mandates and anti-American sentiments and tyranny coming from our government. And I saw too many men that I respected just bend the knee immediately and not have any opposition to it. So I decided to start speaking out. And with my personality, I try to do it in a way that is uplifting and positive and hopefully inspirational to a lot of people. And somehow, a couple years later, I got over 200,000 followers on X, and I've connected with a whole bunch of like-minded patriots that want to better this country.
It's such a great story. And so I want to ask you, I mean, your account is so different because you proudly wear your Native American heritage, right?
Hmm.
You proudly wear that. And I love that. I think that I don't know. I just think it's really cool. And you had your headdress on at CPAC. That thing looks like it weighs about 20 pounds. I don't know how you carry that thing on your head because you pick it up and you put it back. I was like, oh my gosh, the thing I would have a broken neck at the end of the day. But I think that helps your account because I think it really draws attention to your account. You're not just another pretty face, right? You've got in one of the pictures that I used on the ad block promoting your appearance, is the picture of you with a firearm, your face has some more paint on it. You've got some. What would I call that? What's the proper word for that you have on?
It,
Would I say that
it'd be
paint?
war paint. Yeah, war
War
paint.
paint. Okay, I didn't know if you're going to war. So, and,
Spiritual battle,
and
but
okay, exactly. So I think that helps you. Let me ask you along those lines. I see you say some things, and I wonder, do you get more leeway because of your heritage, because of your Native American heritage? You can say things that other people can't say, right? Just like Black people can say things that white people can't say.
mhm.
Do you feel like you get that privilege because of that?
Yes, but also it's kind of a double-edged sword there because in a lot of ways, a lot of my ideas aren't contended with from people from the left because they don't want to break their own rules and say something, untoward to a Native American.
Right?
So in a lot of ways, I'm treated with apathy as opposed to somebody actually contending with me because, I mean, and I'm not above using their own rules against them, right? So if somebody is
I
oppositional, I will play up the race card
love it.
just to toy with them. But yeah, it's harder to accuse somebody of being racist, and like just today, okay, somebody who had no idea who I am commented on one of my posts, and they said, "Well, you voted for Trump because you hate brown people," and I was like,
Oh, I saw that. I saw that.
hmm.
Did you see that guy? You got to check it out. That guy's picture is just like, really, dude? Like,
Yeah,
who was it? I find retards even commented
yeah,
on it. Yeah.
yeah.
It was so stupid. All right, we have some questions. Yitzhak would like to know the 200,000 followers. Is this your first account and have you ever been suspended?
Not on X. I got suspended on YouTube. I initially started out on YouTube because I thought that was going to be a platform where I could kind of excel, but it turns out I'm not very technologically savvy. So editing videos is not really my specialty, and
Yeah.
I kind of just fell behind and I couldn't really do it. But on YouTube I spoke out against the cloth masks because I mean it
Oh,
and that's a big no-no. So I got
yeah.
suspended from there, and I didn't really know which way to go until I heard that Elon Musk was buying Twitter. So I made a Twitter account. I didn't really start posting until March of 2023. So it's only
Wow.
been a little over 2 years.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. Boy, I've been at it way longer than you. Um, but see, I just blend. I don't have the headdress and the warpaint. I blend. So
Yeah,
see, that's the
you know, I,
problem.
I had this story that I used to tell quite often. Unfortunately, I lost my rooster, but it was about my rooster, and I had a what is it? A white Brahma rooster, and so he was or it was a dark Brahma, excuse me. It was a dark Brahma rooster, and they're very large roosters. And one of the stories I used to tell about him is that since he was the protector and provider, he actually stood out uh, apart from all the hens in the rest of the flock. And so it was kind of in a way to draw attention to himself, to let everybody know that if you want to get to my flock, you're going to have to come through me. And so that's kind of how I approach social media. Is that I mean, I don't mind being a little, I guess flamboyant with some of my pictures, or eccentric maybe. Yeah, I'm not flamboyant, but eccentric is the word I'm looking for a little bit more. But it one of the first things I told my wife when I met her, I mean, literally the first time I called and talked to her, I said, I have to warn you, I'm very patriotic. And that hasn't changed at all. It's actually maybe gotten a little bit a little bit more obvious with my online personality, but a lot of the stuff that you see that I post of me wearing, outfits or whatever, I was doing all that stuff before, but just with no camera. So
I love it. I think it's fantastic. So I've got a lot of comments and a lot of questions already coming in for you. Watching your back says Native Patriot. You can call him Maurice if you want to. What's been your experience in your beliefs within the Native American community as a whole? So I guess your Trump and patriotic beliefs.
very mixed, which is understandable. I mean, it there's a lot of like purist natives out there that if they want to kind of set some parameters on, well, you have to be this much Native American in order to claim that you're Native American, or you have to be like, I'm not enrolled in my tribe. I'm half Native, which is my tribe is Swinomish up in Laconer. But since I'm not enrolled in their tribe, because their rules are you have to live on the reservation for 5 years in order to become an
Wow.
enrolled member. My father's enrolled, my half brother, my half sister, they're all enrolled up there because they grew up on the reservation and I didn't. And honestly, from what I've seen happen to my native family who lived on the reservation, I don't want to put my boys through that. I bought a house in the foothills of Mount Rainier. I have my own land, I have my own place. I'm not going up there to subject my kids to drugs and gang violence just to get
Mm.
a membership card. So it's kind of one of those things where I know who I am, and so people accusing me of trying to be, or people accusing me of saying that I'm not Native American enough, or I didn't grow up in the old ways, which I mean, in all reality, nobody really did. We all wear
Nobody
jeans,
does.
we all have cell phones, we all drive cars. We're
Right. You're not living like the Amish.
yeah, exactly. So, but there's I actually work with a group called the Native Americans Guardians Association. It's a smaller group, and they're starting to grow now. But in a lot of ways, they wanted to promote the ideas that would help bring back Native American representation. I mean, I'm not going to say that every tribal government is corrupt, because they're not, but they're just mini governments. I mean, that's all they are. So they're prone to corruption the same as any other government is. But
Sure.
if you're whatever tribe out there, and generally have a problem with the way that I represent Native Americans, it just seems more like a personal problem, because a lot of people don't like the fact that I'll wear a headdress, and they say that it's disrespectful and it's appropriation and all that good stuff. But the thing is that it's not a real headdress, right? Like my great grandfather. Actually, I have a book here. So this is my great grandfather.
Oh, wow.
That's Chief Martin Morning Cloud Sampson. So he was the
That's
chief
awesome.
of the Swinomish tribe, and he wore a real headdress. Mine is a representation of a headdress. It's similar to how I believe you can still honor the flag, but have the picture of a flag on your clothing. As long as you're not actually wearing a physical flag, then it's not against
Right.
flag code, and I don't see it as being disrespectful. It's just a way to bring back the representation of it. But that's what a lot of natives
Yeah.
will try and kind of get me on. Is just saying that, for one, I'm not a real Indian, and that I represent it poorly. But I don't see it that way at all.
Well, you're more native than Elizabeth Warren.
By a long shot, yeah.
See, I see it. And it's interesting because my dad's first generation American, so my family hasn't been here long at all. My grandparents came from Germany just before World War II. But I, for whatever reason, am fascinated with the native culture here. I just think that they really got short shrift. I think it was horrible what was done to them. And with the way I see it, is to me it's a celebration of your culture instead of saying, oh, you shouldn't wear that because you're not native enough. You should
Hmm.
be able to celebrate it. When I think that's one of the things that drew me to your account is I thought, oh wow, here's this guy, he's totally celebrating it. You don't see a lot of people do that. There is a stereotype, like you said, of where these tribes, they're either really rich because they have the casinos, right, or they're destitute. and they never
Yep.
get out of it. And to me, it's like a lot of other groups in our country of every color, where it's just almost a mindset of living in this on off the government. My parents were here, I'm gonna live here. They never get out of the ghetto or off the reservation or whatever it happens to be. And it's a story throughout America. But I think pride helps to counter some of that. And I think being proud of who you are and where you come from, then I think you try to maybe lift yourself up a little bit to honor that. And I may be putting too much into it, and I may be giving people way too much credit. But it's just so interesting to hear you talk about it, that you're not native enough. That to me is hilarious. I just
Yeah. Yeah, and well, and so I say that I'm Native American with emphasis on American, because first and foremost, my values stem from the founding fathers and the ideals that they set forth. I mean, that's what I really love about this country, and the beauty of being an American is so unique in human history that we tear it down at our own peril, and not just our own peril, but the peril of humanity, because we, as of right now, and for the past couple of 100 years, have been the leading force of the world. So if we tear down our own rights and our recognition that our rights stem from God and not agreements between man and given out by government, then I don't know where humanity would go, but I know that it wouldn't be a good place to go.
Yeah. Let's see. Yitzhak says Maurice gets privilege. I'm on my ninth or 10th account. I can't even keep count. The original one lasted from 2008 to 2018, and he also was killed. Had an account killed off on Facebook for talking about masks. So
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
well, see, that's the thing is, like, I don't have a Facebook account. I started an Instagram account, but I don't really go on there. And so X is kind of the only place that I really focus on, apart from the Patriots Prayer Network, which is the network of various podcasters that we have. I mean, that streams on Rumble as well. But other than that, I mean, it's
right.
I want to go where the future is going to be and support platforms that are actually trying to support free speech, as opposed to the ones who are trying to cultivate a certain kind of culture.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm rarely on Facebook now. For me, it was a little bit different. I got tired of looking at the pictures of people's food and their grandchildren's first day of school. I
Yeah.
just like, it just reminded me of like back in the 60s, where you would see they pull out the Super 8 thing when they had company over and make them watch pictures of their family's trip to Yellowstone. That's what I feel like I'm being forced to watch someone's home movies on Facebook, so I'm not on there very often.
Or they
Um,
pull out their wallet and start flipping through the pictures one by one.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly, exactly. Mango Mush says roosters are a-holes.
Well, my yeah, we had some issues with, because we went through about three different roosters, and we let them free range, and they lasted a couple of years, but eventually they got picked off one by one. But my wife and kids, they had to be a little bit more careful around the roosters, because yes, I mean, they're simple-minded creatures, and they want to protect the flock, and even they'll see you as a threat. You could be good friends with them for a while, but sometimes they just turn on you. So
Well,
I
think
get
about
it.
how big their brains got to be, the size of like a grain of rice. So, there's not a lot going on in there. Gregory wants to know, do Brahma roosters have a big hump on their back like the bulls?
I don't think so. I didn't notice that, but they have furry feet, and they're like giant chickens basically. The rooster that I had was about 2 feet tall. He was a big one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
awesome.
that
I
can do
loved having
damage. Yeah. But if you're a
him.
kid, like that can take you out,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. It was kind of
Toddlers.
funny. My son would get chased every once in a while, and I mean, he was like 9 years old at the time. He could handle it. You could boot him away. They're not that bad, but it did
Um,
scare him a couple times.
Yitzhak has a non-political comment. He wants to know, do you use goop to clean your hands?
uh, I use that orange stuff, so I haven't actually had time to do it yet. I got
I
home
feel so
and
I'm so sorry.
no,
I
no, you're
feel so
good.
badly. You didn't have time to wash your hands. You didn't have to do this. Porch View says, my rooster is such a great guy. He follows me to make sure I don't fall. He's a very protective soul. Um, Stephanie is a new viewer here. She says, love the show, Mary. Great guest. I listen to you on Sirius as well. Thank you. Look at that. People coming to see you. Yes, okay, the government is operating as a nanny state for the First Nations. Is that ever going to end? Mining for rare earths, destroying the land. Is my green showing opposition?
I wouldn't say that it's ever going to end because they're so deeply intertwined with funding and benefits that they receive the from the federal government. That's why a lot of the tribal nations will adopt a lot of these left wing kind of Marxist ideologies that you see, including Pride, and they kind of a lot of Native Americans
Pride?
kind of jumped onto the. Oh yeah, yeah, Cherokee. I think it was it Cherokee that
What?
decided to have a like Pride Day. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Maybe it was Navajo. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, they've adopted a lot of these this cultural movement, and a lot of that is because it's tied to their funding, and so they'll just virtue signal their way through it and kind of
Oh,
force it on their people. And
gotcha.
like I said, they're just mini governments. They're just people prone to corruption like anybody else. So, if your local government is corrupt, it's no different than seeing a First Nations, except the First Nations people, they will always kind of use the white man bad uh, when they want to get some good press on their side or something. I've seen that quite a bit where they will, say that this nation was stolen, and they'll go through the whole spiel. You know, it is what
Right.
it is. But
All right. I thought it was, Sal says Mount Rainier erupted years ago. Aren't you afraid of living there in case of another volcanic eruption? What's the one in Italy that just went off?
mm,
Um, oh, I forget what it is, but one of the ones in Italy just erupted. Is she afraid of living there?
um, I'm aware of that, and that would definitely it would more than likely be completely devastating to where I live. But more so, I'm aware of the earthquake that's set to happen here. The Cascadia fault line it's a fault line that runs off the west
Oh,
coast from Alaska to California, and
wow.
it's due to go at any time, and it'll be anywhere from like a 8.2 to a 9.3 is what they're predicting.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, yeah, it'll be a big one. I'm more worried about that. And then once that happens, then the volcanoes are more likely to get incredibly active. So, but hey,
Including the one under Yellowstone,
yeah,
right? The
yeah,
one under Yellowstone.
yeah, I can't worry about that because if that goes, then
Well,
there's
if
you
that goes,
just
you'll be good. No, you'll be fine because you're northwest. The air will go east. So actually, being
hopefully.
northwest is good. And my husband said to me, I saw something about it today, like some one of the pools, erupted in Yellowstone. And we're always looking to move out to Montana. We've been looking to go out there since forever, before it became popular, before the move, before the show, before California vomited into Montana during COVID. We've always wanted to go out there. And my husband goes, it's going to go the day after we close on a house. That's when it's going to erupt. and, and I'm sure insurance won't cover anything like that. I said,
No,
I think
no, definitely not.
we're going to have bigger problems than that. Yitzhak asks, what's a real Indian? Former Governor Patterson is 43% Irish.
See, that's
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 a
one of
good
the things that I
question.
contend with, because with the way that they are kind of keeping people out of joining the tribes, it's almost like they're making their tribes disappear. Because the more you coexist with the Americans in general with different races, the more diluted your bloodline is going to get. So
Of course.
one of the mindsets that I enjoyed from the Native American history is that there was a time where if you did something honorable for the tribe, you could become a tribal member. And it wasn't a partial tribal member. It was like if you did a great act, if you saved one of the tribesmen, um, you know, and you became an honorary member, you became a full-fledged member of that tribe. And that's how America's kind of supposed to be, right? Once you become an American,
Right.
you
It's a
you
melting pot.
Yeah, all the rights are recognized. You are an equal to one another. That our inalienable rights were granted from our Creator, recognized by government and the peers. But it's kind of, I wouldn't say that the Native Americans have really embodied that as much as they should have. Um, with the way that they're kind of dwindling their numbers now, because I mean, you saw there were a lot of Native Americans that supported Joe Biden and his open border policies, and it just boggles my mind, because the Native Americans are like 1.5 to 2% of the population of this country, and they allowed in about 6 times the illegal aliens into this country than there are even Native Americans left in this country. So I really don't
Yeah.
understand how they can support that. It's like, well, you're literally being erased by allowing the rest of the world just to flow in, and
Yeah.
as a Native American, your voice is going to be less and less, and your needs or wants, or whatever you want to get done politically, is going to be ignored, because once you're like 0.5% of the population, you're not going to have a big impact.
No, that's very true. Stephanie's a big fan. Thank you, Stephanie, for joining the podcast. We do appreciate it. Welcome. She says she's been following you and Lady Patriot of late, very family oriented and common sense values. Thank you for the content you put out. I just want to tell everybody you can find Lady Patriot. It's underscore Lady Patriot. So if you just type in Lady Patriot, it's underscore Lady Patriot. So you've got some fans there. I do want to switch gears, because I do want to talk about the other things that you do. I want to talk about the Patriot Prayer Network. But one question here, Porchview says, how, if at all, has your business changed with smart tire detection and fleet management systems? I'll bet you didn't expect that.
Smart tire detection. Okay, so I work more with industrial. We don't have a lot of the TPMS systems, which is the tire pressure monitoring systems. But I don't know. I'm pretty old school with a lot of this stuff still, and so is my company, I guess, because the way that we the way that we manage a fleet is by going out to a fleet and then hitting the tires with a hammer to see if they're flat, and then so I really though, like I'll go around and I'll do that, every single day at various accounts. I go and check fleets in that way. So there's been no real AI integration into our companies at all yet, apart from like GPS on the trucks and very small changes like that. But yeah, for the most part, the industrial side is left out of a lot of these TPMS systems and things that are like the light truck vehicles and like they're subject to. So I don't have to program any of that stuff. Thank goodness.
Okay. Well, Yitzhak just called you the old tire thumper.
Yeah.
Nicholas says, thanks for giving us the opportunity to hear this perspective from a Native American. I think they're super interested in how the two, really meet. Yitzhak wants to know, is the tribal language being preserved?
Lashute is considered a dead language. There are some who know it, and you can actually go online and like if you want to know a word in Lashute, you can look it up. But as far as fluent speakers go, not really. It's considered a dead language. There's just not enough people that speak it.
Are you familiar with it at all?
No.
No, I was just
No.
curious. Hermit wants to know, have you ever heard of Archie Bellany, also known as the Gray Owl? He was an Englishman who moved to Canada to live as and impersonated a First Nations native and wrote on environmental issues in the 1930s.
I'm not aware of that, but that sounds fascinating. It's
Yeah.
interesting you say he impersonated a Native American, because I wonder if he was, like I was saying earlier, how you can be accepted into a tribe. If they accepted into a tribe member, then he was a tribe member. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know about him.
Okay, so you just started this account in 2023, and it just happened to just grow to over 200,000 followers at the drop of a hat, which is insane, and I am insanely jealous. But that's okay. I'm gonna start. I gotta put something on to like make myself. I have a tiara. Maybe I'll wear a tiara. I'm trans royal.
There you go.
I'm gonna do that. So you got together with I have his name here with Eddie Smith, and I think I met him at CPAC with you, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. And you guys got together and you created this Patriots Prayer Network, and it's patriotsprayer.com. And you're on Rumble, you're on YouTube, Facebook, you're all over the place, and you have different shows, and you host the Cowboys and Indians with Steve Loves Ammo. So I've
Yeah.
got Native Patriot and Steve Loves Ammo. And he is a Purple Heart recipient, so he has served. He is a vet. What do you guys talk about on the Cowboys and Indians podcast?
Well, it started off a little bit more politically leaning because it was around election time, and that's what felt like it needed to be said, and hopefully we could spread the message as far as and wide as we could. But as of late, we've been trying to focus a little bit more on family values, what it is to be a man, and I mean, various things to that aspect, because it seems that in a lot of ways, I think that men have been failing society in not being the leader of their household, and not. I mean, I've been called misogynistic a couple times, but it is so far from what or how I live it out. With my wife, like my wife is a stay-at-home wife. She takes care of our kids, and we do our best to work together in order to have a successful family. And my job is to be the provider and protector, and a lot of the normal spiel that you hear from people promoting traditional values. But in today's world, it's a little bit more difficult to navigate that stuff. So if as a father or a husband, if you want to be the leader of the household, there's a lot more responsibilities that you have to take on. And like this, I remember seeing like the men's suffrage movement, or like that the ones who were saying that men aren't being appreciated like they should be, and things like that. And it's like, we can't, I don't want to go down that road. I'm not going to do that. I would rather just step into the role that God has planned for me and fill those shoes the best that I can. And I want to lead my wife and my family to success, to the absolute best of my ability. And I'm going to put I work, I've cut my hours down at my physical job down to like 45 to 50 a week. So that's a lot better than it used to be. I used to do like 65 to 85 hours a week to provide.
Wow.
But with the sponsors and the money I make on X, it kind of helps backfill the
Well,
overtime that I lost.
and you have a very physical job. It's not
Hmm.
something you're going to be able to do forever, right?
Yeah.
In probably 10 years, you're going to be going, oh, my back. You're going to have the aches and pains that the rest of us do, but just sooner. So you can find that on X. The Patriots Prayer Network is on X. You can follow it there. It's the Patriots Pray. Oh, it's the Patriots Pray, and
Hmm.
and they have a community there where you can join the community. And they have a bulletin. It's a bullet board you can make comments on. You have to follow the rules. I joined it. I followed. Um, and so check it out. I think it's interesting that you're branching out into these other things, and that they're so. I guess it doesn't surprise me that they're traditional, because being Native American, what's the other part of you that's, if one has Native American, what's the other part? What's the heritage there?
Um, my well, really white. It's like French, a little bit of German, and some, but yeah, it's a mix of European. So
Okay,
yeah,
you're
but
like
so
a
my
mutt.
mom's, yeah, oh, for sure. Like my mom's white, my dad is Native American. So I mean, and this is one of excuse me, this is one of the reasons why, like, I really uh it's funny when people will talk about the race card, or even when the anti-white sentiments that we've been seeing for like the past 12 years out in the culture. Like, I picture my mom or my grandma, or like I have an entire white side of the family where I'm like, well, I know for a fact they're not racist. And even my stepdad, who came in and raised me, as a white man, and basically adopted two little brown kids as his own, and raised us as like we were his. And it was a wonderful thing. And then grown up in a small town of like 98% white people, I didn't feel the racism that everybody says that this country has been experiencing. So
Well, clearly you're not looking hard enough. Um, you just had Enrique Tarrio on
yeah.
your podcast. What was that like? What was that about? That guy, I think he got done dirty with the
Yeah.
whole J6 thing. I that's just my I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but from what I know of it, I was like, dude was done dirty just because of who he is. And of course, he got the pardon from President Trump. What what did you guys delve into? Because I'm gonna watch the podcast. I'm gonna watch the whole thing. But you just posted it. What did you guys get into?
Well, we talked a little bit about how like the events that kind of led up to January 6th and how they kind of used him to try and force or to try and get an impeachment for President Trump. And so they were trying to get all of these people put in prison, and or at least the threat of putting him in prison for a long time, in order to turn on Trump and say that, yeah, Trump was telling me to do this,
Right.
right? So they weren't really looking at individual cases, and obviously that's not how our country is supposed to work. We're supposed to, have a fair trial, and the state isn't supposed to have an objective to use your case for something else. If it's not there, they're supposed to find justice. And I mean, in a lot of ways, I don't know if we actually talked about this on the podcast, but the tactics that him and the Proud Boys used, he kind of looks back at him now and is like, those weren't the right tactics. And being the media's bad guy is not always a great thing, right? So, but there were times where he kind of and the Proud Boys in general would kind of live up to that role. And they were kind of careless in the way they presented themselves, and I think that they were just the perfect boogeyman for the media to point to and
Yes.
say, this is the bad guys that we're trying to
Yep.
defeat. And it just kind of spiraled out of control until it got to the point where they were the boogeymen that the media could point to and try to use as to indict a lot of the January Sixers and say that this was something a lot more than what it actually was. And they got punished for it. I mean, if Trump hadn't have won, Enrique would still be in prison. I mean,
Oh
he got
yeah.
locked away for 22 years. And based
He
on from
never
what the
stepped.
media, go ahead.
But I was gonna say he never stepped foot in the Capitol, right?
No, he was in Baltimore at the time.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, just from what the media painted about Enrique Tarrio and speaking to him in real life and on the podcast last night, it is such a completely different demeanor. And I mean, the way he carries himself, the way he speaks is very calm. It's rational. It's not this insane, crazy, zealot driven personality that the media wants you to believe. I've kind of noticed that about a lot of the people I've met that I originally saw from, what the media said about him. It's like, there's always that hyperbolic nature. So, I try to carry myself in a way where it would be a little bit more difficult for the media to paint me as the bad guy, even though, on X, I'm not really shy about saying things that, should technically get me in trouble, but they just don't. So, and
Well,
maybe it's because I'm not big enough yet. I don't know.
no, I don't think it's that. You do have over 200,000 followers. I think it's a little bit of the privilege that you have because of who you are, but also the way you say things. I have to tell you that it's the way in which you say things, you get it across without being a jerk about it. And I think that goes a long way. It's super hard for people, I think, to get. I mean, yeah, they're going to take shots at you, but it's always stupid stuff, right? It's always stupid shots, like you're not you're not really Indian, right? Isn't that what he said? He's not
Yeah.
really Native American. It's like calling David Webb. Somebody posted this earlier. Someone called David Webb a racist. He's black, right? Like
Yeah.
he was against black people. I'm like, he is black, but they didn't know that. Um, it's the same thing, but the way you say it, and I'm not really putting it into words well, but you just put it there, you put it out there and you call it like it is, but you do it in such a way that isn't aggressive. And I think that that's a key part of it, because a lot of people are super aggressive and just like, even though I agree with what you're saying, do you have to be a jerk about it? You know what I mean? Like, you do
Yeah.
it in a strong way without being a jerk. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And
And
I
I
think
think a
that
lot of that
there's
actually stems from, for one, me working with my wife on conflict resolution and actually trying to figure out our problems as opposed to just trying to win an argument. But for two, I have a
Mhm.
lot of liberal family, and I had to learn how to address certain topics and problems without kind of setting them off. And then I know that on social media, it's a lot easier to do that. So for a couple of years, I really tried to focus on how I can get points across without depicting myself as the enemy, right? Without trying to just declare that I'm your enemy, because in all reality, a lot of these problems that we're facing, it's not the barista working down the road that's the cause of the problems. A lot of the times they're just falling into the ideological trap, that the worldview that they've been shown and given. And sometimes it's just that people need more information. And if they're open to it, I'm willing to talk to them. I mean, I had a detransitioner on the other day,
Oh,
and
that's cool.
he had a lot more strong words for the trans community than I do. But I mean, it's one of those things where if you're trying to actually help somebody, then you should try to lead them instead of just bash the ideas that they're trying to represent or express, because sometimes
Right.
people express the ideas poorly. And I mean, especially on social media, a lot of the times it could just be like a flippant. I mean, I've had posts go viral where it's like I'll post it like 1 a.m. I'm sleep deprived. I'll make a post and then it'll just blow up to 20 million views, and I'm like, oh, whoops, it's not exactly what I meant, but it's pretty close. So, but
And you only have 1 hour to edit, so
yeah, yeah. For the most part, though, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, and if they're willing to be genuine with me, then I'm more than happy to be to have a conversation with them. And that's just kind of how I've tried to express my ideas, and kind of show them that like abortion is wrong, or these political hot topics that it seems like a lot of people will just regurgitate headlines that they back and forth on which one is correct. But I'll boil it down to something different, and I'll try to relate to them more than show that I'm their enemy, because most of the time I'm not.
it's more this goes, there's the theme. Here's the theme. It's about leading. This is what
Yeah.
it's about. You try to show how to lead when when you have your podcast and you talk about being a man and leading and going back to those traditional values. It's a constant theme through everything. And so I really highly recommend that people follow your account. Very quickly, the other shows that are on the Patriots, it's patriotsprayer.com, by the way. What are the other shows about? Because I'm looking at this one, host of a Patriot Confederation, but there's two of those, two guys in a coup. What is that?
Well, we're actually going to be picked up with another network soon, and so I don't know how many of the shows are actually going to want to put in more work, or maybe it's not putting in more work. Maybe it would be, um, I guess, going to the next level with the podcast, and dedicating a
Okay.
little bit more time to it. So I'm not exactly sure how many of those shows are getting on board. We're kind of going through a transition period right now,
Okay.
but a lot of it is people, patriots from around the country that had an established show, or even if it was a very small show, uh, and I just want to give people who I think deserve it a bigger audience. I mean, that's pretty much what the entire point of the Patriots Prayer Network is that we'll find people that we agree with and say, hey, if you want to join the Patriots Prayer, you can. I'll help you out with my audience, and hopefully you can get your word out, and
Yeah.
hopefully they can grow and get bigger, because I really believe that the American people need to find their voice again, and we need to stop uh, being a collective and following the dictates sent down from us by these media outlets, or these entertainment industries, because the people have a good sense, but they're just kind of being led down the wrong road. And I think that if more Americans can have their voices heard, then overall it can make more change than we even know.
No, absolutely. I love it. I think it's fantastic. And you're starting to see the traditional media really kind of stumble right now. MSNBC, the evening shows, the primetime shows on MSNBC are down 40%. They've lost 40% of their audience. Family Guy, on Fox, regular Fox channel, your local Fox channel, beats out like CNN. I mean, they're losing to The Simpsons and Family Guy. So it's great to see people saying, "I'm going to go this way," and I think you're going to see more and more, people. I'm moving this podcast thing. We're going to add Rumble as well to this. Just I mean, it's easy, it's just a button. So we're going to add that as well. But I just started out small, and I enjoy doing it. So maybe not all social media goes, but it gives people have choices now, right? You don't have to sit in front of the TV with the family at 6 o'clock to watch Huntley and Brinkley give you the news. You can go now to a lot of different places, and I think that that's super important. And I also think that the pendulum's swinging back the other way. Young men I have hope for Gen X. I mean, excuse me, Gen Z. Gen Z for me, I'm Gen X. Gen Z for me is I'm very hopeful about them. And I shared a story on my feed on Thursday that went viral. Got over 1 million views. So for me, that's viral. And it was about two young men who came here to install an air conditioning compressor. And I thought their moms had to drive them to work. They looked so young. And I was just like, oh my God, are you old enough to drive? But they're right out of high school, went into the trades. They went to Votech for 2 years, right? And one of them said to me, he's like, "Yeah," he goes, my best buddy, he's in law school and he's 150 grand in debt, and I'm saving for a house. Like good, really polite kids who could talk to an adult, who could have a conversation. To me, that's the generation that is going to save this country if it's going to be saved. They're the ones who are
that's for
swinging
sure.
back. Yeah.
And I mean, we almost have to be hopeful in Gen Z and Gen Alpha coming up, because I mean, they are our future. And so one of the reasons why my account is so family oriented is because, and I've gotten backlash for this as well, because I've posted like my kids online, my wife, and I try to show that like the family life is the way to go. Being a father and husband is one of the best things you can possibly do with your entire life. I want to counter the culture that has become so overwhelmingly depraved with promiscuity, treating women poorly, and just seeking money and certain material things that won't help. It's not going to fulfill you, no matter how much money you get. I mean, there are some people that are so poor that all they have is money, and I never want to see that. I mean,
I love that. Excuse me, I'm stealing that. There are some people that are so poor that all they have is money.
Mhm.
That is so profound. Do you say that a
It's
lot, or did that just come out now?
I've said it before. I mean, it's one of the phrases that like I really
Perfect.
try to live my life by. At 14 years old, I had a really aggressive form of thyroid cancer,
Oh,
and I got pulled out of school for a year, and I had to go through the whole treatments and everything. I've been cancer free since, so that's good.
that's good.
Um, but I made the decision back then about like what was important in life, and that's what I've tried to do. Is I wanted to be a father, and I wanted to be a husband. One of my biggest goals in life is to celebrate my 50th anniversary with my wife, and
Oh,
we're 6 years into marriage and almost a decade into knowing each other. So I got a long way to go, but I'm looking forward to it. I mean, that's where my mind is I want that in my life, because all the material stuff, I mean, it's cool to have a big truck and a house and things like that. But if you don't have anybody that really loves you, and you can't grow and have that bond with them, then there's not much else in this world. I mean, I saw my family and friends, the way that they supported me when I was going through my cancer treatment. I mean, in those times where life gets difficult, it is so good to have family and friends there. And so that's what I've kind of circled my
yeah.
life around, and that's what I really try to express to the youth, or to whoever it is listening, or who's willing to listen at least, that family and friends is everything. It's God, family, country. So the political stuff we've kind of been straying away from. It's a little bit it's repetitive in nature, and a lot of it's clickbaity, and so that stuff kind of bugs me. There's a lot more truly important things that will affect not only your life but your kids' life. and then their kids' life. I mean, you can instill values that last for several generations, and
Yeah.
it's so important to do. And the only thing that can really fulfill that hole in your heart that's wanting to be filled.
So well said. And I also see in the younger generation going back to church. My husband and I
Mhm.
teach pre-Cana in the Catholic Church, which is before marriage, and actually we teach conflict resolution. So,
How about that?
a- and to get married in the Catholic Church, you have to go through this, and it's a day, and it's talk about finances and parenting, and who's gonna, how do you have the same parenting styles, that kind of things you should talk and think about before you get married, and
Hmm.
hopefully before you have children as well. That would help. Um, and we're quote unquote, so we get sold out. More kids are coming back to get married in the church, I guess is my point. We take 25 couples twice a year, and it's done all over the diocese. It's done all over. We're not the only ones, but we have to turn kids away sometimes because we don't have enough space. So to me, it's a good thing in that I think that younger generation is starting to come back to even church. All the, as I said before, the pendulum swinging the other way. It went way too far to the left. It's starting to come back to the middle. Will it go too far to the right? Probably. That's exactly what happens, right? And then there'll be a correction, and hopefully somewhere down the road we'll find a sweet spot. But that's history. That's what it does. If you want to rebel against your parents now, be a conservative, right? I mean, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's actually one of the things I like sharing the most is like punk used to be, anti-government, and like you can imagine like the punk rockers with the spiked jackets and the
Right.
mohawk and everything.
Right.
Being a punk
Yes.
now is like being a conservative, getting married in a church, and having a
Your
bunch of
MAGA
kids. It's
hat.
like that's the way to rebel. Yeah, that's the way to rebel now, which
Exactly.
is so funny to me,
Exactly.
and that's counterculture, is to honor and cherish God's word and try to embody those values.
Right. Piss your parents off. Get married in church. It's so true. Well, everybody loves you. Everyone's a great guest. Good invite. I don't want to keep you too long because I know you just got home. Thank you so much. I will put all the links to everything, to all your socials, and to the Patriot Prayer Network, etc. I will put on when I post this. Thank you so much, everybody. If you see me post it, if you could retweet it or repost, that would be fantastic. Oh, somebody said bring back shop. They want shop class back. Uh,
Yes.
right?
I mean, there are some necessary things that young kids are not being taught how to do. I mean, I was lucky enough to where my stepdad owned his own construction company. So like growing up, I hated it. Right. Every spring break, winter break, I'd be out there. I'd,
Yep.
be helping him out doing construction. We changed our own oil. We actually built a truck when I was younger. And I mean, a lot of those things were taught, and I'm eternally grateful for it. But most kids aren't receiving that nowadays. And shop is
Yeah.
like, it's a very controlled environment that gives you very basic skills that can be applied in many different ways later in life. And it's
That's
not
so true.
happening anymore. It's sad.
It is. Kids now, if a button falls off their shirt, they have to throw it away. They don't, because they don't know how to sew it back on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Star Driver has a request for Nick Freitas on your podcast.
Yeah, yeah, I could reach out to him.
Yeah.
That's a good
Uh,
idea.
Stephanie says, in closing, I just want to say Maurice is always very articulate and displays core family and hardworking values. And I think you have a future out here, however it may be, yet to be truly determined. Are you related to that woman?
No.
Are you related to Stephanie? I'm just, I think she's fangirling just a little bit. I love it. I was out of focus. Sue says, my two Gen Z girls are fantastic. They're working hard and conservative. And let's see. I'm just trying to get through here. Yitzhak says you're a good man. Anybody wants to know if he should ask your wife if you're a good man because he thinks you are. She wants to know if you should ask your wife. I think she would tell you the exact same thing. Steven says this is one of the best interviews I've had on the show. So fantastic. All right. I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I'm so sorry there was a mix up in the times. And by
It
the
was
way, you
just
need,
my fault. I double checked. I was like, nope, she told me the right time. I just, um,
I checked too. I'm like, oh my God, did I not tell him Eastern? Oh no, but I thought LA was Louisiana for LA native Patriot. I thought it was Louisiana. So I'm like, oh, we're in the same time zone. I don't know what the problem is. But
no,
one thing on your Patriot Prayer Network, could you slide in a token woman somewhere? I mean, it's all men. Would you just, since we were talking about identities, could you slide a token woman in there? That's all.
you want to join Mary?
Sure. Well, I wasn't talking about me. I was just saying in general, you need a token woman in there. It's so I look at my sister like, there's not even a token. Come on, you're not even trying.
Yeah, well, right now it's more of a like a volunteer network, and there's times when people will get big enough to where they'll get other offers, and they go off and do their own thing, which is, I mean, that's cool. We used to have the base mom used to be part of or the base mother, Ellen. Wait, I forgot her name. I'm blanking on her name right now, but she's the
That's
base
okay.
mother, and I got nothing to say but nice words about her. I mean, she's awesome. She helped produce the American Groomer. She speaks out against a lot of the trans ideology targeting children, and she got an offer somewhere else. And it's like right now, I mean, Eddie and we just have 9 to 5 jobs, and we're doing this as a passion
Right.
project. In as many ways we can help the culture and society
Yeah.
in general. So it's really hard to
That's
retain
good.
people when you can't pay them, right?
Listen, of course, I don't get paid for this. I just do it
Hmm.
just as a way to, just showcase people that I find to be interesting. I have on people like James Rosen from Newsmax, and we didn't talk about politics at all. Like we talked about, he wrote a book about Antonin Scalia, and we talked about, him riding with in Antonin Scalia's sports car with him driving, and the judge driving, and we talked about the time he met Paul McCartney in the Beatles. Like so things like you, I had you on a list for a while of people that I wanted to have on just because I really found your page, your post to be interesting. I thought, wow, maybe if everybody else would find you interesting as well. And they do. So thank you so much. All right, I'm going to let you go. Go have dinner. Thank you. I appreciate you. God bless. And the best of luck with all your work. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah,
Bye.
Mary, thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye bye. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I will be in again for Wendy Bell Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And you can catch me on, just look for Wendy Bell Radio on Rumble. And then hopefully on Monday, I'll be back on the Chris Salcedo Show. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a fantastic rest of your week. And I'll see you later. Bye.